Okay, we are going to make a start now. So today's lesson is on parallel and perpendicular lines. We're going to start off by looking at parallel lines, then we're going to move on to perpendicular lines, and at the end of each topic, we're going to be looking at some exam questions. So to start off with, we had this starter question. So we're going to have a look at this starter question and how we would answer a question like this. And then I've got another similar one for you guys to have a go at. Okay, because we never got on to two questions in our last lesson. This was one of them. Okay, so it says a straight line has the equation 2y minus 10x equals 8. Work out the gradient of this line. Okay, so what we did look at in our last lesson is the equation of a line. And we know that the equation of a line is given by the equation y equals mx plus c. This is the equation of a line. And in order to work out any question, the first step will be to make the equation into this format. Put the equation into a format like this, y equals mx plus c. So the y must be by itself on one side and everything else must be on the other side. Okay, and we know that from this, the m represents the gradient. Okay, and remember the gradient is just the steepness of the line. And the C represents the y-intercept. Okay, this is the point at which the line crosses the y-axis. Okay, so if we have a look at this one, it says a straight line has the equation 2y minus 10x equals 8. Now, straight away from the question, we can see that it's not in the format that we want it to be. It's not in this format, y equals mx plus c. So we need to rearrange it to put it into the correct format. So we've got 2y minus 10x equals 8. We want the y to be by itself on the left hand side. So let's get rid of this 10x first. Okay, at the moment it's being subtracted on this side. So to get rid of it, we need to do the opposite and to both sides. So we're going to add 10x to both sides. Okay, so we're going to add 10x to both sides, and that's going to get rid of the minus 10x from that side. So we're left with just 2y on this side, and we're left with 8 plus 10x on the other side. Okay, now we just want y on this side, so we don't want the 2. The 2 is being multiplied to the y, so to get rid of that multiply by 2, we're going to divide by 2, and whatever we do to one side, we must do the same to the other side. So we're going to divide this number by 2 and this by 2 as well. So now that's going to get rid of this 2 on that side. So we're left with just y on this side. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then 10 divided by 2 is 5. So it's 4 plus 5x. Now, putting it into the format we want it, we want the x thing to go first. So we're just going to rearrange it. So it's going to be y equals 5x plus 4. So that's what the equation would look like in the correct format. So all we have done is we've taken this line over here, this equation that we were given, and we have rearranged this into the correct format. We have rearranged this into the correct format, okay? So we've added 10x to both sides and we've divided both sides by 2 to get y by itself. And then we've just switched these two around to get the x thing coming first, 5x, because we want mx plus c. And we've got the 4 at the end. So we've got y equals 5x plus 4. This is the correct equation of the line in the correct format. Now what we need to do is we need to work out the gradient of this line. Now the gradient of this line, as you can see, over here, y equals mx plus c, m represents the gradient. Okay, m is the gradient, and m is the number which is before the x. So before the x, we have a 5, so the gradient is just 5. That's the gradient. Okay, and just to go over this once again, all we're doing, we need to work out the gradient of the line. We're given the line 2y minus 10x equals 8. We want it to be in the correct format, and this is the correct format. Any line that we're given, before we answer any question, we want it to be in this format, the format of y equals mx plus c. We want y by itself on one side and everything else on the other side. Okay, so over here, we're given this equation, 2y minus 10x plus 8. That's not in the correct format because y isn't by itself. So we're going to rearrange it to make y by itself. So over here, we have 2y minus 10x equals 8. We added 10x to both sides. So we added 10x to both sides, as you can see, to move the x thingies to the other side. So we move the x to the other side. So we're left with just 2y on the left side. And that's equal to 8 plus 10x because we've added 10x to both sides. Now we want y to be by itself, so we're going to get rid of the 2. 2 is being multiplied, so we've divided by 2 on both sides. So we've divided by 2 and 2. We know that 8 divided by 2 is 4, and we know that 10 divided by 2 is 5, so we have y equals 4 plus 5x. But we want in the form y equals mx plus c. We want the x term to come first, so all we're going to do is switch these two around. So it's going to be y equals 5x plus 4. Okay, so the gradient is 5 because the gradient is the number which comes before the x. Okay, so one question for you guys to have a go at, very similar. It says work out the gradient of this line. I'm going to give you guys a minute or so to have a go at it. Type your answer into the Q&A, or if you can't access the Q&A, you can scan that QR code which is at the top, and then you can let me know the answer through the form. And if you have any questions as well, you can let me know your questions through the form as well by scanning that QR code. Okay, I'm just going to give you guys 30 more seconds and then I'm going to go through the answers. Yes, you can have a fraction as an answer. You can leave your answer as a fraction or a decimal. Okay, I'm going to go through the answers now. So it says a straight line has the equation 4y minus 5x equals 2. We need to work out the gradient of this line. So again, step one, with any question like this, you need to make it into the correct format. You need it in the correct format, which is y equals mx plus c. Okay, at the moment, it is not in the correct format. Okay, so we need to get it into the correct format, and that's what we're going to do. So we have 4y minus 5x equals 2. We want the y to be by itself. Okay, so we're going to move everything else to the other side. So let's get rid of this minus 5x first. To get rid of something, you do the opposite of it, and you do the same to both sides. So we're going to add 5x to get rid of it, and we're going to do the same to both sides. Okay, and that's going to get rid of this minus 5x. Okay, so we're left with 4y on this side, and that's equal to 2 plus 5x. Okay, now we want y to be by itself. We don't want this annoying 4. We need to get rid of the 4. And all we're going to do, 4 is being multiplied. So to get rid of it, we need to do the opposite of it. We need to divide by 4. Okay, so divide by 4, and whatever you do to one side, you do the same to the other side. So you're going to divide this by 4 and this by 4 as well. That's going to get rid of the 4 over here. So you're going to be left with y on this side, and that's equal to 2 over 4, which is the same as a half, and plus 5 over 4x. Okay, now we want it in this format. The x thing needs to come first. Okay, so the x thing needs to come first. So all we're going to do is we're going to switch these two around. Okay, so it's going to be y equals 5 over 4x plus a half. And the question says, what is the gradient of the line? Remember, in this equation, the m represents the gradient of the line, the steepness of the line. Okay, so the gradient over here is just going to be the number which is before the x, which is 5 over 4. So our answer would just be 5 over 4. Okay, so those were two questions that we didn't get onto in our last lesson, but we've done them now. What we're going to do now is we're going to move on to parallel lines. Okay, now if I said to you a line was parallel, for example, we have this graph over here. And if a line was parallel, so can you write 1.25 over here? Yes, you can write 1.25. It's the same thing. Over here, let's say we had this line. We have this line. Okay. And if a line was parallel, we know that the line would be something like this. This line is parallel to the red line. Both the black and the red line are parallel to each other. And the reason why both of these are parallel to each other is because both of these have the same steepness. Okay, so both lines have the same steepness. The steepness of both the lines are the same. That's why you would say that both of them are parallel lines. They both have the same steepness. Okay, and what is represented by the steepness? Remember, if we look at our equation, we know that it's y equals mx plus c. We know that this m over here represents the steepness. Okay, and the m is called the gradient. We know that. Okay, so in order for two lines to be parallel, that means both of them must have the same steepness. Okay, so in order for two lines that you have to be parallel, they must have the same steepness. In other words, they must have the same gradient. So that m must be the same in order for two lines to be parallel. Okay, if we have a look at this first example, we have y equals 2x plus 2. And then we have y equals 2x minus 10. What does this mean? This means that this line, line 1, has a steepness of 2, and line 2 has a steepness of 2 as well. Both of these lines have the same steepness. That means that both of these lines are parallel. So both lines have the same steepness or the same gradient. Therefore, they are both parallel. This end number doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what this end number is, because the end number just tells you where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay, so all this tells you is this line crosses the y-axis at 2. Okay, and this line crosses y-axis at -10. Okay, it just tells you where it intercepts the y-axis. When we're looking at parallel lines, what we're interested in is the number that comes before the x, the gradient. If the two numbers are the same, that means that both the lines have the same steepness, they have the same gradient, that means that they are both parallel. If we have a look at the second example, we got y equals -10x plus 34, and we've got y equals -10x minus 29. Okay, if we have a look at line 1, we know that the gradient is -10. Okay, we know that the gradient is -10. Okay, and in this one, we know that the gradient is -10 as well. So in both the equations, the gradient is -10. So in both the equations, the steepness of the slope is -10. Because the steepness is the same, the gradient is the same, that means that both of these lines are parallel. Okay, it doesn't matter what this number is. This number just tells you that it's crossing the y-axis at 34, and this number tells you that it's crossing the y-axis at -29. So as long as both the lines have the same gradient, that means that they are both parallel. It means that both of them have the same steepness. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to an exam question. Okay, so an exam question, a question for you guys to have a go at. If you have any questions on this, let me know in the by scanning the QR code or by letting me know in the Q&A, and I'll get to answering it. But a question for you guys to have a go at. So part A, what is the value of y at P? And then write down the equation of another line which is parallel to y equals 3x plus 5. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a minute or so, and then I'll go through it. Okay, I will go through it again. Okay, so I'm gonna go through it again. Just for anyone who has joined a bit later. So over here, again, for the first part, it says the line y equals 3x plus 5 crosses the y-axis at P. What is the value of y at P? So remember, we know that the equation of a line is y equals mx plus c. That's the equation of a line. We know that m over here is the gradient. We know that c is our y-intercept. Okay, the y-intercept is just where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay, so this is the y-axis. So it's just the point at which the line crosses the y-axis. Okay, so as you can see, the line crosses the y-axis over here, and the C tells you the y coordinate, where it crosses the y-axis. So as you can see in this equation, we've got y equals 3x plus 5. This 5 represents the y-intercept. Okay, so this 5 represents the y-intercept. That's the point at which the line crosses the y-axis. So it crosses the y-axis at 5. So the y value is just going to be 5 because that's the point at which it's crossed the y-axis. Okay, and that's what that number at the end tells you, the coordinate at which it crosses the y-axis. Okay, write down the equation of another line which is parallel to y equals 3x plus 5. So just quickly going back, now remember, if two lines are parallel to each other, that means they must have the same gradient. Okay, so the m must be the same. So we looked at this one, y equals 2x plus 2. That is parallel to this because both of them have the same number before the x. Okay, that means that both of them are parallel to each other. This one, y equals minus 10x plus 34, and y equals minus 10x minus 29, both of them have the same number before the x. Because they have the same number before the x, that means that they are both parallel to each other. They have the same steepness and they have the same gradient. It doesn't matter what this n number is. This n number, it doesn't matter what it is. As long as the number before the x is the same, that means it's parallel. So if we have a look at this one, it says y equals 3x plus 5. We need to write down the equation of another line which is parallel. All we need to make sure is that this number stays the same, y equals 3x. And then the number which comes here can be anything. You can have a range of answers. As long as this number is the same and it doesn't change, as long as it's just 3, this number can be anything. It could be plus a million, or it could be plus 1, or it could be anything. I'm just going to say it's going to be y equals 3x plus 1. This is parallel to the line because it has the same gradient, same number that is before the x that we have there. Okay, so the first one is just the y-intercept. The y-intercept is just the n number that we have. And the parallel line, the equation of the line which is parallel, just has to have the same number before the x. So it just has to have a 3 before the x. The number at the end can be anything. It can be minus a million, it can be plus a million, it can be plus 1,000, or anything like that. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this example with you, and then I've got one exam question to do, and then we'll move on to perpendicular lines. So it says a straight line has the equation 2y minus 10x equals 8. Work out the gradient of this line. So going back to what we looked at the start of today's lesson, we want any equation to be in the correct format. Okay, so step one is to put this into the correct format. Okay, so you're going to put this into the correct format. So you need to put into the format of y equals mx plus c. That's the format that you need to put it into. So do you have to write y equals? Yes, you do have to write y equals, because that's part of the equation of the line. So make sure you include this y equals as well. Don't just put 3x plus 1 or 3x plus anything. Can it also be a negative number? Yeah, it can. You can have literally y equals 3x minus 10, anything. It can be the number at the end can be anything. It can be negative or positive. Okay, so going back to this line, work out the gradient of this line. So it's y equals mx plus c. We need it in the correct format. At the moment, we don't have it in the correct format. So we're going to bring it into the correct format. We want y to be by itself on one side and everything else to be on the other side. So let's get rid of this 10 minus 10x by adding 10x to both sides. So it's going to be 2y on this side, and that's going to be equal to 8 plus 10x. And then we're going to divide by 2 on both sides. So we're left with y equals 4 plus 5x. And we want it, so the x comes first, so we're going to switch these two around. So it's going to be y equals 5x plus 4. Okay, so the gradient of the line is the number which is before the x, and the number which is before the x is just 5. So the gradient is 5. Now it says, write down an equation of a line that is parallel to the line. So you can have anything as long as this number over here is the same. Okay, so you could have y equals 5x plus 1. Okay, I'm just going to go for that. As long as the number before the x is the same, you can have any number you like. Okay, so it's just going to be y equals 5x plus 1, the one that I'm going to write. Okay, if you don't have access to the Q&A, you can scan the QR code which is on the screen, and then you can send in your questions and answers using the form which this QR code will take you to. Okay, so a question for you guys to have a go at. Have a go at this question, and then we will move on to perpendicular lines. Let me know what your answers are in the Q&A. Yes, I'll give you a bit more time on the questions if you would like. So don't use a calculator for this question. This would come up on a non-calculator paper. Yeah. So if you would like, yeah, I will go through how to divide the numbers without the calculator when I go through the question. Okay, just 30 more seconds and then I'm going to go through it. When you're dividing the numbers, you can just leave it in fraction form. You don't need to convert it into a decimal. You can just leave it as it is in fraction form. Okay, I'm going to go through the answers now. Hopefully that's given you guys enough time to have a go at it. So it says a straight line has the equation 4y minus 5x equals 2. Work out the gradient of the line. Okay, so step one, with any lines question, you need to get it into the correct format. Okay, so you need to get it into the correct format. That's going to be key with any lines question. And the correct format is this: y equals mx plus c. You need to get it into this format over here. Y equals mx plus c. Okay, so we've got 4y minus 5x equals 2. We need to get that into the correct format. So what we are going to do is we are going to get y by itself. So we want y by itself. So we're going to get rid of this subtract 5x. To get rid of it, we need to do the opposite of it. So we're going to add 5x, and whatever we do to one side, we must do the same to the other side. So we're going to add 5x to this side as well. Okay, so now that gets rid of this minus 5x. We're left with 4y on this side, and we're left with 2 plus 5x on the other side. Okay, and then you need to divide by 4. So as you can see, 4 is being multiplied on the left hand side. We want y by itself, so we need to get rid of that 4. So we're going to divide by 4. We're going to do the opposite of multiplying, which is divide. We're going to divide by 4, and whatever we do to one side, we must do the same to the other side. So we're going to divide this by 4, and we're going to divide this by 4 as well. That's going to get rid of the 4 that we originally had on the left side. So we're left with y on this side. 2 divided by 4, we can leave it like that, or we know that 2 is half of 4, so that's just a half. And 5 over 4, we can leave like that. So we just have plus 5 over 4x. Okay, now we want the x thing to come first. As you know, in our correct format, we want the x thing to come first. So all we're going to do is we're going to switch these two things around. So it's going to become y equals 5 over 4x plus a half. We've just switched them around. Okay, so what's the gradient? So we know that m over here is the gradient of the line. The thing before the x is the gradient. The thing before the x represents the steepness of the line. And the thing before the x over here is 5 over 4. So your gradient is just 5 over 4. Okay, that's your answer to the first one. And then it says write down the equation of a line which is parallel to this line. So remember what I said about parallel lines. Parallel lines have the same gradient. Okay, so these have the same gradient. Okay, that's it. That's the key thing. So our equation was y equals 5 over 4x plus a half, we know that the gradient of this line is 5 over 4. So we can write down any other line as long as the number before the x is 5 over 4. So we could have y equals 5 over 4x plus 1. Okay, any number. As long as it's 5 over 4x, the number after where I've written the plus 1 can be any number you like. It can be add 1 million or 100,000 or subtract 1 million. It can be anything as long as this number is 5 over 4x. Okay, because the parallel lines just have the same gradient, they have the same steepness. So y equals 5 over 4x plus 1. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Just let me know if you have any questions in the Q&A or the form at any point. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work out perpendicular lines. Okay, now if something is perpendicular, what does that actually mean? If something is perpendicular, that means it's at right angles. Okay, so for example, if I said to you this line and this line, these two lines are perpendicular to each other because they're at right angles to each other. Okay, so the perpendicular means at right angles to each other. That's what perpendicular means, at right angles to each other. So if we think about this as a graph, okay, we've got a graph over here. Let's say we've got this line. Let's switch color. Okay, let's say, yeah, we've got this line over here. A line that is perpendicular to this line could be something like this. Okay, that line is perpendicular to the original line 1 that we drew. So we could say the line 1 and 2 are perpendicular to each other because they cross a right angle, they make a right angle with each other. So this thing about perpendicular lines, we can see that what they're basically are right angles to each other. And sometimes you could be given the equation of one line and be asked to work out the equation of the other line by working out perpendicular lines. And that's what we're going to be looking at. Yeah, so for this previous example that we looked at over here, I had a positive example, 5 over 4x plus 1, but yet y equals, you could also have y equals 5 over 4x minus 500. That's also possible. You could have negative numbers as well. It doesn't really matter. As long as this number is the same, you're fine. Okay. Now, the first thing that you need to be able to do is work out the negative reciprocal. Now, the negative reciprocal is very simple. Okay. All you do, let's say we had a half, all you do is step 1, you flip it around. You flip the fraction around. And if it's positive, you make it negative. And if it's negative, you make it positive. That's it. So if it's positive, you make it negative. If it's negative, you make it positive. That's all you have to do. So we have a half. All you do is flip these two around. So it becomes 2 over 1. Now 2 over 1, you wouldn't write it like that. You would just write 2 because 2 divided by 1 is 2. And then because it's positive, you just turn it negative. So your negative reciprocal of a half is minus 2. Okay? If we do minus 3 over 2, we've got minus 3 over 2. All we're going to do is we're going to flip the numerator and the denominator around. So that's going to become negative 2/3. And because it's negative, we're going to change it positive. So it's going to become 2/3. That's your answer. So all you're doing is you're flipping it around and changing the sign in front of it. Okay, if we look at 2, 2 by itself is the same as 2 over 1. Okay, if we were to write 2 as a fraction, you would just write 2 over 1. And then all you have to do over here is you flip these two around, it becomes a half, and then it's positive, so you change it to become negative. So it becomes negative, negative a half. Okay, and then the final example, we've got minus 5. Do you guys want to have a go at it? So if you guys have a go at minus 5, just type in what the negative reciprocal of minus 5 is in the Q&A. Okay, so when you have a fraction, the minus is on the fraction. It doesn't matter if the minus is on the numerator or the denominator. You can literally just bring it in front of the fraction. That's why minus 3 over 2 is the same as minus 3 over 2, like that. It doesn't matter where this minus is. This minus is in front of the whole fraction. It's not just in front of the 3. Okay, so if I go through it, I'm seeing a lot of correct answers. So we've got minus 5. Minus 5 by itself is just minus 5 over 1. Okay, all we're going to do is we're going to switch around the two numbers, the numerator and the denominator. We're going to switch them around, and now it's going to become minus 1 over 5, like that, because we've just switched the numerator and the denominator around. And because it was negative, we're going to get rid of that negative now, and we're going to change it to become positive. So it's just a fifth. Okay, so that's how you find the negative reciprocal. You flip it around, and then you switch the sign in front of it. Negative becomes positive, and positive becomes negative. Positive reciprocals you won't need to know in terms of perpendicular lines, so we're not going to cover it today. We're only looking at negative reciprocals today. Okay, so I'm going to run through an example, and then I'm going to give you guys an exam question to have a go at. Okay, so it says write down the equation of the line perpendicular to y equals a half x minus 4, which passes through 0, 7. When you're working with perpendicular lines, step 1 is going to be get the original equation into the correct format. Okay, so correct format. Okay, correct format, and that correct format is going to be y equals mx plus c. That's the correct format that you want it to be in. Okay, is this in the correct format? You've got y equals a half x minus 4. Yes, it's in the correct format. Y is by itself. You've got a half x, and then you've got minus 4. It's in the correct format. Okay, so we've done the correct format. It's in the correct format. Now, when it's perpendicular, all you're going to do is you're going to write this, you're going to make the gradient, you're going to find the negative reciprocal of the gradient. Of the gradient. So what's the gradient in this case? We can see that this is the gradient. A half is the gradient. The number which is before the x is the gradient. So in this case, the half is the gradient. We are going to find the negative reciprocal of the gradient. So we're going to find the negative reciprocal of a half. Okay, so we've got a half. All we're going to do is we're going to switch these two things around, the numerator and the denominator, and that's going to become 2 over 1. 2 over 1 is just 2. And then it was positive, so we're going to change it to become negative. So the negative reciprocal is minus 2. Step 3 is you're going to write a new equation with the negative reciprocal. So write a new equation with negative reciprocal. Okay, so the negative reciprocal is minus 2. We know that this is the new gradient. Okay, so this is our new gradient. Okay, so we're going to have y equals minus 2x plus c. Okay, so remember the c is just the y-intercept. Okay, all we've done is we've just put in the gradient. Okay, so we want to make it look like this. We've just put in the gradient, which we've just worked out, which is minus 2. Okay, now once you've worked out the gradient, you know that it passes through these coordinates, 0, 7. Okay, this is x, this is y. The first coordinate is the x, the second coordinate is the y. So you can substitute in x and y into these equations. We've got an x and y in this equation as well. We need to work out what c is. Okay, so x is 0 and y is 7. So y is 7, x is 0 plus c. Minus 2 times 0 is just 0 plus c equals 7. That means that c equals 7. Okay, so now we know what c is, so we can substitute c back into this equation. Okay, so we have y equals minus 2x plus 7 as our final answer. Okay, so just to go over it one more time, when you're working out perpendicular lines, you firstly check if the line is in the correct format. Is it in the equation y equals mx plus c format? Yes, it is. It is in the correct format, y equals mx plus c. You then find you then find the negative reciprocal of the gradient. Okay, you find the negative reciprocal of the gradient. So as you can see, the gradient over here is just the number which is before the x. The gradient is a half. Okay, so you take the half and you find the negative reciprocal of a half. The negative reciprocal, you flip the numerator and the denominator around and you make it negative. If it's positive, you make it negative. If it's negative, you make it positive. So we've worked out the new gradient. It's minus 2. Okay, you then substitute in, you make a new equation. Okay, and the new equation always has to be like this, y equals mx plus c. And now you've just worked out the gradient. You've just worked out what m is. So you have y equals minus 2, because that's what m is, x plus c. Why wouldn't c be minus 4? C wouldn't be minus 4 because we need to make sure that it passes through these points. We don't care about this now. We want to make sure that it passes through 0, 7. That's what we care about. Okay, that's why c wouldn't be minus 4. Okay, so we have y equals minus 2x plus c. Now, because we're given this set of coordinates, 0, 7, we know that the first number tells you the 0, it tells us the x value, and the second number tells us the y value. We have a y here and we have an x here. So we can substitute in that number 0, 7 into x and y. So we know that y is 7 and x is 0. And if we substitute it, we can work out what c is. So as you can see, when we substituted in, we worked out that c is just 7. Okay, so we know that c is 7. So we, in the equation that we had, y equals minus 2x plus c, we just replaced the c with the plus 7 because we just worked out what c is. Okay, how many marks would this question be? This question would be 2 marks. I would say 2 or 3 marks. Okay, so your answer there is y equals minus 2x plus 7. Okay, So to finish off today, I have one question for you guys to have a go at. Write down the equation of a line that's perpendicular to y equals minus 3 over 2x minus 1 and passes through 0, minus 8. Okay, again, I'll give you some time. Have a go at it, type your answer in the Q&A or scan the QR code. So you don't use the minus 4 at all. Yeah, so in the previous question, you don't use the minus 4 at all. So why did you take out the 4? If we look over here, we don't need the 4. We just took out the 4 because we were making a new equation. After we worked out the negative reciprocal of the gradient, we then use a different equation. We need to make a new equation. We don't care about this equation anymore. Okay? So we just get rid of the minus 4 because we don't need it. Um, that's why we constructed a new equation, and that's why we needed to work out what the new c would be. Is this a non-calculator or calculator paper? You'll most likely get this on a non-calculator paper. Okay, just 30 more seconds, and then I'm going to go through it. Okay, I'm going to go through it now. So, step 1, is it in the correct format of y equals mx plus c? Okay, is in the correct format. Yes, it is in the correct format. We've got y by itself, then we've got the x, and then we've got the c, which is minus 1. So it's in the correct format. Secondly, we need to work out the negative reciprocal because we're dealing with perpendicular lines. Okay, so the gradient is this number which is before the x. Okay, so we need to work out the negative reciprocal of negative 3 over 2. Okay, so we're going to switch these two around. So it's going to become negative 2/3, and then it needs to become negative to positive or positive to negative. It's negative at the moment, so it needs to become positive. So our answer is just 2/3 for the negative reciprocal. Now what we're going to do is we're going to construct a new equation. Okay, so we're going to have y equals mx plus c. We've just worked out the new gradient. This is the new gradient. This is the new gradient. So we have y equals 2/3 x plus c. We know that it needs to pass through 0 minus 8. Okay, and we know that the first number is x, the second number is y. Okay, so y is minus 8, and we know that x is 0. Okay, and we know it's plus c. 2/3 times 0 is just 0, plus c equals minus 8, so we know that c equals minus 8. Okay, so we know what c is. We can now go back and substitute it into the original equation over there. So we can get y equals 2/3 x minus 8. Okay, so that's what your answer would be in that case.